The fluorescent lights hummed above me, dull and relentless. Stacks of marketing plans surrounded me, sleek, formatted, grammatically flawless. Each one written like a miniature proposal, dense with citations and textbook-perfect headers. On the surface, it was everything I wanted as a marketing professor. But the more I read, the emptier it felt. I ran my hand across the pages, smooth, cool, carefully prepared, but empty. No grit, no voice, no surprise. Another polished assignment, another quiet check mark, but no spark. I was not seeing minds at work. I was seeing people performing, checking boxes, meeting requirements, polishing their way to approval. And not because they didn't care, because no one ever challenged them to think differently. I leaned back in my chair, that familiar tightness growing heavier in my chest. This was not why I became a marketing professor. I didn't want performance. I wanted transformation. A few nights later, I sat with another stack of papers, but this time, I did not reach for the next assignment. I reached inside myself. And I did not question their mistakes. I questioned my own. And then the idea came, quiet but piercing. What if learning is not about what we know, but about how we grow? That cracked everything open. I stopped seeing their work as a reflection of failure and started seeing it as a reflection of the system. A system I had been upholding, a system I could choose to change. What if growth wasn't a checklist, but a practice? Alive, messy, evolving, rooted in curiosity, action, and reflection. That's when petite practice was born. Petite is French for small. More than a method, a mindset. Small by design. Because growth is not one single event, it is the sum of our moments. Petite practice is a framework for personal and professional growth powered by small intentional actions. It does not overwhelm learners with sweeping changes, but uses practical, repeatable steps. Inspired by European efficiency and human-centered design, petite practice invites us to slow down, focus on what matters, and achieve meaningful progress one small step at a time. Before petite practice, my students did exactly what they were told. Followed lectures, took notes, submitted assignments on time, and studied just enough to pass. But they were just checking boxes. Raise your hand if you ever aced a test to immediately forget everything. Yeah, I see you. So what's the point? After petite practice, everything changed. They didn't just plan, they built. They shared ideas they believed in. They tested them. They scrapped what didn't work and tried again. Their work moved from theory to motion. I will never forget one team's first presentation. They stood in front of the class and said, "We're still figuring out what our product is." And the room went completely quiet. It could have been a moment of shutdown, but it wasn't. They took feedback, regrouped, and came back stronger. Because they learned the real lesson that fail stands for first attempt in learning. And no stands for next opportunity. And pivoting is not a weakness, it's a skill. One student told me after class, this was the first time I felt I was learning for life, not just checking a box. Petit practice isn't just what I teach. It's how I live and learn one small step at a time. And today I want to share with you how you can do it too. To bring petit practice to life, I use what I call STEP. One simple, repeatable system designed to turn big goals into small, intentional actions. STEP is the heartbeat of petit practice. Because change doesn't happen in giant leaps, it happens through steady, manageable steps. STEP stands for simplify, tell, examine, and praise progress. Let me show you how it works. First, simplify. Take your big goal and break it down into small steps. Choose to start with a step that feels right for you. For instance, want to run a marathon? Your first step might be as small as putting on running shoes. And let's be honest, on some days, that's the win. I remember staring at 150 unwritten pages of my PhD dissertation. It felt impossible until I did the math. 2 pages a day. That was my first step, and that's how I finished. Petit practice is built on this idea. The magic doesn't happen by completing the entire goal at once. It happens when you take that first small step. And you can apply this to any area of your life. Just choose your first small step and take it right now before you change your mind. Second, tell it. Say it out loud. Share your goal with someone, even if it's just one person. When you explain your goal, it forces you to make it real. That's how my students learn to pitch their ideas and not just plan them. And you can do that too by speaking your goal into existence. It shifts the focus from some abstract, distant goal to a tangible, actionable conversation. It brings your goal into the present moment. Third, examine. Reflect what worked, what felt good, and what steps you will take next. Progress doesn't just come from doing, it comes from learning. Instead of only focusing on moving forward, take a moment to pause and reflect what step you will take next. When you do this, growth will happen. You can apply this to any area of your life. Petit practice encourages this kind of reflection at every step, so your growth is rooted in deeper understanding and improvement. Fourth, praise progress. Celebrate those small wins. Those moments matter. They fuel your momentum. Trust me, when my students launched their ideas, they didn't wait for the perfect moment. They shared drafts, got feedback, made improvements, celebrating every small step along the way. And you can do this too by acknowledging your progress, no matter how small it seems. Trust me, it all adds up. This is the essence of petit practice, where small, intentional actions taken consistently compound over time to create lasting change. And by celebrating the small wins, you create a habit of growth. The beauty of STEP is it's simple, repeatable, and actionable. It brings the philosophy of Petit Practice to life, allowing you to live it every day. And with this practice, no matter the size of your goal, you can start right now. Imagine it's the year 2050. A young professional steps into her dream role at a global sustainability startup. She did not get hired because of her degree. She earned her place because of her ability to think critically, collaborate with purpose, and adapt in real time. Skills she did not develop through rigid assignments, but through real-world challenges and reflection. That is not some distant future. It's happening right now. With Petit Practice at work, in learning, and in life. Petit Practice allows us to break down those small steps. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about starting imperfectly right now. By 2050, the future belongs to those who can take change in stride, not by reciting answers, but by taking small intentional actions that add up over time. Petit Practice makes this possible by breaking growth into modular steps that can be repeated to create lasting habits. So let me ask you, one Petit Practice, one small step. What is one small step you could take today that will change your tomorrow? Let's stop teaching people to perform. Let's prepare them to grow, to lead, to make change manageable, meaningful, and real. Together. Those fluorescent lights, they're gone. Replaced by LEDs and outshined by something better. The brightest light now comes from the people themselves, from the spark of their bold idea, the global breakthrough, and the quiet fire of knowing they built something real. That's Petit Practice. Small steps, big impact. Learning that lasts. Leadership in motion. The future already unfolding. Thank you.